Welcome back to camp, man.
We are back.
We are back, dude. That's the intro that you've always wanted, and we always give it to you, and you know what you're coming here for. You get the welcome back to camp shout.
Oh, yeah, every single time. Your voice is a little boomy to me.
Little boomy?
Yeah. Hey, Stevie, can we fix that? We're going to keep going. It's fine. But,
Yeah.
We'll survive.
We'll survive. So, I've been eating a lot of watermelon lately.
Yeah, you have.
A lot of blueberries, a lot of plums. I'm
Tell
back on my summertime fruit grind.
Yeah, you are. What is the side effect, though, that you've been getting recently every time you eat watermelon?
Well, yeah, so we spent the last couple of days in the studio together, and there's been a little bit of gas.
Yeah,
There's been
something is amiss in the air in the studio.
Dude, I don't know what it is, but I love watermelon, and it's worth it to me. You know, it's hydrating for me. It's a good source of carbohydrates for post and pre-workouts.
Okay.
It's it's just refreshing.
Dude,
and I posted a picture of them on my Instagram the other day because I was like, oh, this is cute, and I did that, and everyone was like, dude, this is so sick. You eat watermelon? I
had a fruit for the first time in like 6 years the other day, and it burned my mouth like really bad.
That is one
really
thing
hurt.
I've noticed that about you. You don't really eat fruit or smoothies. Like I never see you drinking smoothies or eating fruit.
No, yeah, I'm not a big fan. But I did have some pineapple because like I think pineapple is the top tier fruit in my book, And my mouth was just immediately on fire. It was burning. It felt like I was like growing sores. I might be allergic to it or something now, but it was painful and not fun at all.
Yeah, wow. Pineapple kind of fucks me up, but I love it.
How does it fuck you up?
I don't know. It gives it just I think it gives me like a little bit of acid. What's it called?
Reflux?
Yeah, a little bit.
It gives you that flux?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember when we were recording, I think it was Washed. I had like the worst acid reflux of my life and I didn't know what to do. And it was just so painful that Matt Keller made me drink a full glass of baking soda and water. I think it was baking soda. And it was like fucking horrible.
Is that like an old school cure to
That's what he said,
reflux?
dude. It didn't do anything. And then he's like, now drink apple cider vinegar. And I was like, there's no way this is going to help just drinking vinegar with bad stomach. And
yeah.
I did it. I did everything I could. And I wasn't sleeping. It was bad.
Yeah.
Fruit is
pretty good.
It's not my favorite.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I remember one time we were on tour with Iration and you just came back from fucking Hawaii and then you asked Micah Pushwell from the singer, you asked him, you're like, which one's better, guava or mango? And he's like, what the fuck? It's like, which one do you like more? I just remember it being hilarious because you thought you wanted the input of an actual Hawaiian person on which fruit was better.
Oh, no, I think that was right before I went to Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were trying to prep. I don't want to waste my time with the guava if the mango hits. But it's definitely mango.
Well, there's a bunch of fruit out there that they don't have in the U.S.
That's true, man. There's tons of fruits.
So it's if you're into summertime fruits like myself, you might want to take a trip to Hawaii.
Yeah, I never got into the fruit game. Everybody really likes the acai bowls, but it's like 100 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, I'd rather eat like real food than just like ice cream.
Yeah, but fruit has good sugars in it for you. It not all of it, I guess, but I guess orange juice has like a fuck ton of sugar in it.
Well, I think your body is just like sugar, but there's more like vitamins and shit that's actually beneficial for you in that than eating just ice cream. But still,
yeah,
I don't like to start my days with ice cream.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I hear a lot of people talking about the only meat and fruit diet working really well for them.
Yeah, it just sounds miserable.
Yeah, it does.
I would love to try it, but could you imagine eating like beef every day when you wake up? Sounds awful.
Just meat and fruit.
Sounds so gross.
Yeah.
The fruit part would be the best part, and I'm not a big fan of it. I think just eating steak every day would be horrible.
Yeah.
I get really sick of things that I eat, though.
Yeah, well, that's why you never meal prep, because you need to eat like a different meal every single day.
Yeah, I can do like sometimes I'll go on a streak and I'll eat the same thing for like a few days in a row, and then I'll just stop. Like I got to stop.
Do you mostly eat out?
No, I mean I cook a lot, but I don't eat breakfast ever, and then usually small lunch and big dinner.
Thought you eat breakfast. I
have a shake.
So you do eat fruit?
There's no fruit in it.
There's a banana.
I eat banana.
That's
every day.
fruit.
Yeah, that is pretty fruit.
How many bananas are in your smoothie?
One.
I do 2. Frozen bananas. Do you freeze them?
No.
That's crazy. It's so much better when you freeze it because then it's like ice, and that makes your whole smoothie cold.
I put ice in it.
So do I. I put ice and frozen bananas in it.
Wow.
Dude, I worked. I made smoothies for a living for quite a while. So, dude, if you want, you can just come over and I'll teach you how to really make a smoothie.
No, I think I get the basics of it.
Do you have a vitamin? Do you have a Vitamix?
No, I don't. I just use like a little NutriBullet.
Oh, that's fine though.
Yeah, it blends things. It works.
I mean, it's not a Vitamix, but if you're if you're a smoothie elitist, you need a Vitamix.
I made soup once in a Vitamix, and you just turn it on for like 5 minutes, and it gets hot because of how fast it is.
Yeah, Vitamix is pretty crazy.
Fucking interesting. This is a fucking riveting podcast so far.
It's so
this is good.
It's so good,
dude. How are we this good at this? It's crazy.
It's good. Like I didn't know Vitamixes could be so.
Dude, I don't know if I could
exciting.
eat beef every day. How about strawberries? Holy shit. I went to the dentist for the first time in a while, and I was bad because obviously everybody knows about the whole dental history with us, and so I kind of didn't go for a while again. I missed one appointment, and then they were booked out for like another 4 months. And so I was nervous that it was going to be bad news. I have a little bit of I'm definitely afraid of the dentist more than I was when I was younger, just because of, they could just sit there and be like, hey, you're fucked. And
because
you're going to pay like $8,000.
Because of the recent activities you went through.
Yeah. It was miserable. So I went in and he looked in my mouth and he said, your gums look great. What have you been doing? And I just could not believe it because I've been really just upping the amount of nicotine pouches that I keep in my mouth at all times. And that's really what I was worried about, that he was going to say that it's bad for me. And apparently it might be the right thing to do.
That's terrible advice. So did you just laugh in his face and tell him that you've been a bad boy?
She's like, so how often do you floss? I'm like, what's the normal amount? I don't know what to tell you. But no, yeah, it was like, I just kind of didn't say anything. I was like, oh, really? But I was definitely nervous. I was definitely like, there might be some like 3s or 4s on this.
Yeah, I need to schedule my checkup. It's been a minute.
We need to get Tanner to go and then bring him back on to talk about it.
He needs to give us a rundown of his diagnosis.
Because I know he hasn't been in a long time.
Because that's going to be, for sure.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun one. Not for him, but we've already been through it. We did it ourselves. So, oh shit. And then, me and you were in the studio. We had some pretty awesome sessions.
Yeah. So Thursday and Friday, we had this band called Native Leaves fly in to work with me and Ryan in the studio for a couple days.
Yep.
And the sessions went awesome, dude. Futuristic showed up. For anyone that doesn't know who Futuristic is, he is an artist, rapper. He's from Arizona, and he actually kind of popped off in 2014, which was kind of the same year we got our first big amphitheater tour.
Yeah.
And but he's been crushing it ever since. And he pulled up to the studio because he happened to meet Logan, the singer of Native Leaves, when they were playing a festival a couple weeks ago in Salt Lake City together. So they met at that show, and Futuristic ended up coming to the studio and featuring on their song that we produced. And it was such a fun 2 days.
Yeah, dude, it was great. Me and you, usually we'll just like, once the artist gets there, we'll just kind of come up with music on the spot. But me and you got together the day before, and we're like, just try to get 3 really rough ideas in 3 hours. Just like let's not spend a lot of time, but let's just do the minimum and just get a couple ideas. And we came up with some of my favorite tracks that we've done in a really long time. And once Futuristic got there, he just he's so fast at what he does, and he's really good with melodies, which makes it fun for me because I like working on the music, and I usually like working with the melodies, but I was able to do like some counter, melody stuff in the background, and it just like the whole time it was a lot of fun. It's been a while since we have done like all day late night sessions though, and it kind of, by the end of it I was like, fuck, I'm so tired.
Yeah I've actually, over the past couple weeks, I did quite a few of those, so I feel like I'm starting to get adapted to it more, but it's a lot of work, dude.
It's different when it's like us and we're writing our music and then we want to stay up till 2 and do it. But like no matter how dope the music is, if it's not like your track, by the time it's like 10 or 11, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, I also knew that we only had 2 days with them, so I wanted to like make sure we squeezed the most we possibly could out of 2 days.
Yeah, me
and
too.
we did a really good job. I think the songs turned out really sick. And if anyone doesn't know that band, yeah, you guys should go check out Native Leaves. They're from Salt Lake City.
Yeah, they're great, and we've already done a couple tracks with them too. So
yeah,
eventually in the future, you'll be able to hear the songs we did. Yeah, I'm going camping this weekend for the first time since I was like 7.
That's dope.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous.
Where are you guys going?
We're going up to the White Mountain area in it's like northeast Arizona. It's like 5 hours away.
You, Mouse, and Bobby?
Me, Mouse, Powell, my friend Bobby, and his friend Andy.
Sick. That's awesome.
We're just gonna like fish and stay in tents for a few days.
That'd be fun. Have you ever done that before?
Yeah, I mean, like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But like other than that, like in high school, we would go camping, but it was just like stay up all night and drink like out of your car. And,
not like camping in a tent.
Yeah,
and
not
stuff.
like camping.
Yeah, so you guys are gonna have a good time.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm excited.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be a lot nicer out there. It's been like 119 in Phoenix, so I think the high is like 80,
it's been
85
it's been brutal. It's been very hot outside.
It just like ruins your day as soon as you go outside.
Yeah. I feel very fortunate that I don't work outside. I see these guys working outside, working their asses off, cutting palm trees, and like roofers, and man, this just makes me feel like, fuck, that's a hard summer.
Dude, it's really
that's real work. That's crazy.
Yeah, I've been like I work out outside every morning, and it's just like in the dead of winter it gets really hard because it's just like so cold that it's really hard to like get going. But these last couple weeks have been brutal, where by the end of it I'm just like, I'm not leaving my house.
Well, I even remember like summer tours can get super difficult with not only having to load into the venue, set up, play the show, load out at night. You're not having much sleep, and it's hot as fuck. There's like parts of summer touring that can actually be really difficult if you're not a big band that's on like a tour bus and has catering every night.
Dude, I think the hottest I've ever been on stage was when we played at Pier 17 in New York. And it's on that rooftop in Manhattan, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was like the sun was just directly on me, and you guys were all in the shade, but it was still hot for you guys. But I remember I was the only person that had like direct sunlight, and I remember really thinking, I don't think I'm gonna make it through this 30-minute set. Like,
yeah.
I don't think I could have.
When
so fucking hot.
when the sun is hitting the drums, the cymbals are like mirrors. So they're hitting, the sunlight is just bouncing off the cymbals and just smashing you in the face.
Yeah.
And I remember when we played that show where my laptop overheated like 2 songs in at Mesa Amphitheater.
Oh, yeah.
I put my fucking computer in a freezer for the hour before we went on stage. And then we also had a dry ice machine below my computer sitting on like a top of a bucket of ice.
Yeah.
And that still didn't work. And
no,
it was 120 degrees, I think, or 115 degrees outside when we played. And I just remember feeling so sunburned in the face, like afterwards, because of just the sun hit the cymbals and hit my face.
Yeah. Well, and also like a lot of stages are black. So it just absorbs all that heat. And then there's lights and stuff still on, and you're just like, holy shit. It's like, it's got to be like 120 something on the stage compared to like anywhere else. I remember walking off, and our tour manager Colby was looking at me. He's like, dude, I thought you were going to pass out.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I think I might still. I was like, just the most red I've ever been. Because I don't really sweat a whole lot. I do more now that I've been like exercising a lot, but before I wasn't like a sweater. So like I would just like turn bright red and feel like fucking shit. It was awful.
We had a big day a few days ago. We did the 5-year anniversary Washed merch drop.
Yeah.
And that was wild to see how many of our fans supported us for the merch drop and grabbed all the new merch. It was very, very successful week for the band as far as like just seeing how many people are still so excited about stuff we've made so long ago. Like,
yeah, dude, I posted in our like private Facebook group being like, hey, we're going to make the site live 30 minutes early. so start refreshing beforehand so you guys get first pick at the merch.
Yeah.
And like half the shit was sold out before it even went live for everyone else. So it was crazy. And we ordered enough for what we thought would sell. You know what I mean? It's like we didn't do like a small amount. We were like, I think that people will be really stoked because we haven't had these vinyls in forever and all this stuff. And then it just like over half of the vinyl, like our entire vinyl stock that we thought was going to last us years was gone within like 4 hours.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, man. There's a lot of love and support. It feels good.
Yeah, it's super cool too because Washed, that album specifically, was just such an important time period of the band. Such a like new, it just has this feeling like when I think about that time period of the band, it just has this energy and like feeling about it that I vividly remember. It just felt like things were starting over again.
Yeah. That whole, I mean, it's like one of the most exciting times in our band's history, I think, was when that was coming out, because that was really like the time, like when we went out for our Washed headlining tour, it started out with like smaller shows. And by the end of it, I remember being like, oh, these shows are getting bigger and bigger. And it wasn't because of where we were. It was like the music spreading a lot faster now, And then like the next tour we came back after that was like every show was doubled. And that was just like, oh shit, like people are really, because we did something completely different. And I remember being kind of nervous because we had completely switched up our sound. And but I think it was one of the most important albums in our like discography, because it really like pushed us to continue to change things, and it helped us find like our actual sound. Because like to me, Sucker is one of the best albums that we've ever done, and I think that we wouldn't have been able to make that if we hadn't pushed all those boundaries with Wash for ourselves earlier.
Yeah, for sure. I remember being on that Wash tour and specifically talking to Andy backstage, and both of us, I remember him being like, I think we could be a real band. Like we weren't saying like, hey, we're a real band now, but it was like this kind of realization of like, we have fans, like people are starting to show up to the shows. Like we're kind of a real band now. Like, this is exciting. Like, what could happen? You know what I mean?
Did you have that feeling like, so after Andy passed, I had this like realization of like how far the stretch actually was, and like how big what we had done was. And it just felt like this weird like awakening of seeing it from an outside perspective of like, dude, we've done a lot, and a lot of people like really care, and a lot of people love us. And like this, like, I just remember feeling like infinitely grateful to have been a part of it. I was like, dude, I'm so lucky that I've been a part of this for my life.
That's why I think I like posted this on like Twitter or something, like kind of closely after Andy died. But like for me, it was this huge perspective change of feeling like Catastro is just this like entity that we like all created that now like lives on its own, and like we're just a part of it, and like the fans are also part of it too. And man, so for me, it was actually a specific moment where I actually had like a crazy realization, and a big one was at the vigil at Marquee that the fans started like 2 days after Andy died. But I remember we were at Sandbar for the like party after Andy's funeral.
Yeah.
And that
was pretty wild.
It was, dude. It was wild because like all of Andy's friends showed up in like party buses. Like at first we get there, it's just us and our families and like Andy's family, and it's like super chill. And,
I rolled up with like the Iration guys, and
super family oriented. And like me and Tanner were at some of Andy's friends' house after, and we got onto a packed party bus of like 40 people, and 2 buses pulled up to Sandbar, and just all of a sudden it goes from like Andy's grandma eating nachos in the corner, that's all that's going on, to like raging full-blown Scottsdale shows up to this bar. But dude, so we're standing there, and Catastro's playing on all the TVs, and everyone's dancing, and dude, it just hit me like, oh shit, like we are a good band. Like I was like seeing it from a fan's perspective of like not being in the band, because dude, for so long, I would say, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but our metric of success was so based on like financial shit, and like how much money we're making, and like for years just being so embarrassed that we hadn't reached a level financially to like fully take care of ourselves and support ourselves from the band.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, and there's still a part of that too that is like this metric, because there is reality that like you do need to pay your bills and you need to be able to afford to take care of yourself and your family. And like at a certain point you have to decide if something's a hobby or if it's a career, you know what I mean? But like for us, I truly didn't understand how many people we affected with our music. And it really showed me that like our metrics of success are just so fucked up sometimes, because we can't see the stuff beyond that, which is like people healing from our music and people like truly getting like very, very special things out of our music to help them with their own lives. Like that's not stuff you can really chart with money. And like,
I think a lot of that too was based off of just like comparison to other artists,
other
like,
bands,
constantly like looking at other bands and being like,
why didn't I get that tour? Why didn't I get that festival?
Or like, how it's going, like, you know, how much money roughly these bands are making. You're like, how are they getting on this? Or like, how are they affording this bus? Or, you know what I mean? And it's dumb because it doesn't matter at all. It like really doesn't matter at all. It's like how many people listen to your music. Like,
that's what I'm
when
saying.
It goes back
it's
to like being a kid and you're learning how to play the drums in your garage. It's like, what do you picture? It's not really, I was never picturing the money and like that kind of lifestyle. I was picturing playing shows in front of a shitload of fucking people, and we were doing that every night.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's interesting too, because, you know, it's so funny how we constantly get wrapped up in it. I still do it. I mean, I'm not saying I like don't do that anymore. I still have a problem with, you know, like having these goals ahead of me that are like, all right, well, I'm going to be good when I get there, but it's all an illusion.
Right.
It's all fake. And being able to like stay awake enough to like know that and like keep watching it, and it's tough. It's really hard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what's been kind of weird about, you know, just life since then, is I'm so used to basing my life off of these like little wins, and we don't have really any wins recently. You know what I mean? It's just like this whole thing takes a really long time. We're going to put everything we have, and I mean, we've talked about this so many times about just like the process and stuff. But it's like not having those. I realized how much I was holding on to those. Oh, but we got this awesome show, and then it's like, okay, now I feel good about myself, and then I like start feeling like shit again. And you're like, oh, then this next thing, where like you're always bumping up a little bit, and being in this like wave where we have to just kind of stay put, and it's a lot of time, it's a lot of waiting. Mm-hmm. There's a lot we can still do, and there's a lot we have done, but at the other hand is like there's a lot that we don't have control over, and that's been like my weirdest part, is adapting to not being able to be like, okay, then this and this and this and this and this.
I think me and you are very similar in the way, and I think it's why I think in a lot of ways the reason we get along, like doing business stuff together and like bouncing ideas off each other all the time, is because we both want to control a lot of things, but that when we do it together and work together and like do the friction thing until the thing gets figured out, it like always kind of results in the best thing.
Right. Yeah.
Even when we're like in the studio together, or like bouncing, you know, just ideas off like merch designs or something, you know what I mean? It's like, I think we both have this fear that like something's not going to be as good as it needs to be and can be, and we want to like figure out how it can be the best it can be.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like we just always want that. I don't know. I think we're lucky. I was thinking about it. Like, it's one of the only places in my life where I feel like with the band and the business and stuff like that we do, and even the podcast, where it's like, I know that my voice is going to be heard. And it's like, I'm not saying that everything I say is right, or like when we're songwriting and stuff, like I know that not every idea is going to be good. I know I do have really good ideas a lot of the, like sometimes. And, but it's one of the only places in my life where it's like, everything I say is going to be heard and considered, and like everything you say is going to be heard and at least considered. And I'm going to tell you why I do think that that's a good idea, or why I don't think that's a good idea. And sometimes when I'm explaining to you why I disagree with you, I kind of explain to myself why it is a good idea. You know what I mean? So there's ways of going about it where if there's some sort of conflict that we'll have in decision making, or like we can both be on completely other spectrums, in just the process of me trying to come up with a reason on why I feel like, no, you know, I think it should be blah, blah, blah. Just me going through that and going through like organizing it in my brain and how to tell you to explain it, sometimes it explains it to myself. I'm like, oh no, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And then, you know, being okay with being wrong. Cause like,
yeah, but and that's what's so interesting about like having conversation with someone, which is if I'm not listening to you while you're talking to me, that process can't take place.
right. Not at all.
So like, cause and I'll admit I've done it so many times over the years, like not really been able to listen. Like I'm just waiting to talk.
Yeah.
And that's what I've really gotten out of the podcast is I've been trying to be more conscious of listening while you're talking instead of waiting to speak.
Yeah. Well, because when you do that, and like I, you know, you used to do it a lot, but it's like when you're talking with anybody like that, if you're just thinking about your response, and I've done it in arguments as well. Like
we both do it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But it's you know, when you're going through it, and you're just thinking about how do I respond and rebuttal to the last thing, and you're not hearing what they're saying at that point.
Yeah,
you're already behind on this like argument, and so it shouldn't be an argument. It should be maybe more of a debate thing, but it ends up turning into this kind of like battle where it's like it doesn't matter, like we're both trying to get to the right side. And it's like, yeah, we like there are obviously things that when we're coming up with like CampFest or all this other stuff, it's like there's gonna be things that we fundamentally like are just like totally believe in. Like I 100% believe that this is the way that this needs to be, but we can still learn how to like speak on it.
Yeah, for sure. That was a tough one too, because I don't think you know, specifically talking about like the planning for CampFest and stuff, when it comes down to, I think with anything in life, when you're having a conversation with somebody and it's based on something that you are very, very passionate about and your heart is like totally in and you feel really strongly about something, it's so hard. It's probably the hardest at that moment to like fully listen to everybody else at the table and let them express how they feel and what their fears are and like all this other kind of stuff. And I remember that time period of the band for us, you know, before we did CampFest, it was just fucking scary, man. Like we all didn't know what the future was going to look like. And we knew we had to do something to honor Andy, but then all the different opportunities were presenting themselves. And, you know, I personally felt very passionately about one thing, and then everyone else was feeling passionate about other things too. But at the end of the day, we actually all agreed on the same thing. And it was just about us like talking through things and reordering things in a way that like everyone felt comfortable. So at the end of the day, I don't even think any of us were really disagreeing. It was just like when your best friend dies, like everything is so fucking scattered in your brain and just all over your life that like it's hard to rationally like be able to collect yourself to even be in a position to listen to the people around you, and like because you're dealing with all this chaos and yelling inside of your head. Well, do you know what I mean?
It's balancing out not making emotional decisions when you're really emotional. Like and that was the hardest thing, is like we're all super emotional about this thing because it was like it's the most, you know, fucked up thing that's happened to any of our lives really at that point. And it was just the most scared that any of us had been, and it's our entire career, it's our best friend, it's everything. And to try to look at something from not an emotional outlook is really hard when that's all you're thinking about and that's all you're dreaming about.
That's all it's inside of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's literally,
that's really hard to like separate that and to be, you know, like, I don't know, just be more level headed. Even if you're not, you kind of have to like somehow break apart. Like, am I coming at this because I'm scared, or like, is this because I'm so emotionally attached to this idea that I've come up with on my own in my head? Or do I like, you know what I mean? There's a way to like look at it and try to not be emotional when you're already in like a rough spot kind of. And it ended up working out, but it's like for us, and you know, like I said, we've talked about this a lot on as far as the whole CampFest stuff, but you know, we weren't ready at all. Like when we had to agree to doing it, it was so early that I was like, we were just planning like, hey, we're just gonna have to be ready to play a show in 6 months, and you know, and it was scary, but like I knew I would be. But it's like then we're coming up with all these big business decisions and scary, like working on numbers that we'd never even worked with before, and just tons of money going out and this huge thing, and you're like, oh man, like this is terrifying, but also I'm the most like unstable emotionally at the same time. And you're like, it had this potential to be like, oh, this could be awful, but it turned out to be the most beautiful and perfect thing because we all worked together on it.
Yeah, man. And that was the craziest thing about that was we were very afraid. I mean, the biggest conversation was like, all right, we know we want to do this show, but then we were kind of, toying around with the idea of like, do we even have time to make this happen in 6 months? Like, some people were saying that wasn't possible. Some people were saying it was possible. So, and a lot of money, like you said, is on the line, and we had to make the decision to do it. And instead of like saying no because of our fear, we did it. And it was obvious, 100% obvious to me and every single person at CampFest that show needed to happen when it happened.
For sure.
And it was the most money we've ever made at a show. Like, it was the most successful show financially that our band's ever thrown, and numbers wise, the biggest headlining show our band has ever thrown. Correct?
Yeah, but like a lot of that had to do also with the amount of people that stepped up and helped us, and like we weren't expecting, to get that much support, and like the lights were given to us.
Oh, dude, we had everyone step up.
Everyone stepped up so that we could like be a little bit more secure after that show, and like also the amount of artists that had to be able to be available at the time was like, that was terrifying, because like we were very, very last minute on actually landing the artists that we landed for it. And but yeah, I was like, all these like little things had to kind of lay in the right place. And then we also had so much support from the community, and like the LED wall people and the lighting people and stage hands and techs. Like, we're working, a lot of them like donated their time for free or donated their people, and we paid for their like time. And it was just like, it was this whole thing where it's like,
it was perfect.
Is this gonna come together? Like, is this ever gonna happen?
It was so perfect,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it was great.
It was to me, it was just such a like, it was such a representation of like human beings coming together to be there for each other during a really difficult time. And all of our friends in the industry, like you said, like the show would not have been able to happen without all of those people stepping up and helping us out in a way that I've just never seen. I've never experienced that. And it was just such a powerful feeling, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
It was so crazy.
Yeah, it was surreal.
I've never experienced anything like that, and I feel really grateful that we experienced that, and I feel, you know what I mean?
I remember walking off and being like, I don't think it's possible for me to ever feel like that again. Like, it was just the most like insane, everything lightning striking at once. You're just like, what is going on? And I remember like specifically walking off and feeling like every single emotion possible at once, and like the most intense I've ever felt it. I was sad and I was happy, and I was crying because of joy and crying because of sadness and like accomplishment, and like I felt great from just how insane it was to play that show on that big of a stage in front of that many people, and how many people showed up. And then you realize why it's all happening, and then it like brings you back down, and you're just like, what is going on? But it was the best thing.
It was so crazy, dude.
Yeah. And I mean, dude, we
so
have
wild.
Like, I forget about it all the time, but like we have full video and audio of that entire show that we're eventually going to get put together and figure out. But that's gonna be really special once we can like go back and actually rewatch it.
Yeah, it's when I really think about how hard everyone had to work for that show to happen, it still blows my mind. Like all the hoops Gonzo had to jump through, and the connections that he has with people in order to really pull that. That's one thing I will say that's so special about Gonzo that a lot of people don't know. Our manager Gonzo is that like, for CampFest, for example, like if we were to just hire like a production and like an audio team for that show, and they just brought in a bunch of random people, that would have fucking sucked. Like, I don't want to be playing that first show back after Andy died and like look to stage, left and right and see people that I don't know. But because Gonzo has like built these connections with all these people in our scene, from, guitar techs and production managers and video people, all these different things, he had a team of everyone that was on stage for that show were people that he got on board that had already worked with us and we already personally knew. Yeah. So like everywhere I turned during the show, it's like, I got Peepers right here. I got,
it's everyone
Corey
like
shooting video.
Respect.
It's like, all of your people that you already know. Like, to me, that just added an extra layer of like how meaningful the show was, that like everybody that was involved were people that we know and have worked with,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was crazy. I remember like 2 weeks before the show, I was like looking, and it was like, it had been raining a lot, and I was like, fuck, is this gonna rain? And then Gonzo calls me freaking out. Like, I mean, that's his normal state of calling, but he goes, Yeah, there's a marathon going on the same day as our thing, and they're closing all the roads around the venue. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck. And so like just like working with the city, and he was calling people in the city and like getting like contacts with people that find out, you know, what's a route that we can do. Like, should we go drive in the night before, park our vehicle so we can run it to the line and move all of our gear in? And we ended up like we got into the Marquee Theater to rehearse at the Marquee Theater, and then we ran over and loaded, or our crew, we didn't do it, but our crew ran over to Mesa Amphitheater, kept our stuff there because it was like locked in because of this marathon. And then we went back to Marquee and then did the pre-show and then went to Mesa. It was just like all of these things of like, you know, like peak problem solving in music. Because, you know, there's going to be so much that goes wrong with any event that you do or anything like that. Like, kind of like what can happen will, and we also just all relies on how quickly you can come up with solutions on it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. We also had never thrown a festival on our own, so like another really cool thing I remember from that show was Tim and Brian Kirch showing up like right before doors opened, and Tim brought a bunch of signs, and he had our fans, like the General Predators there that were helping with the show, hand painting signs to hang up for like, you know, like a classic camp sign.
Yeah.
So like literally like doors are about to open in an hour. And then Brian Kirch pulls up, and he's got like, he brought plants like cactuses and stuff from his home that he placed in the, you know, in that outdoor area.
Yeah.
He was literally on a ladder. I don't even know if you saw this, but he was on a ladder hanging up bulb lights like around that whole hangout area, and like they within 2 hours made that whole area just look so much better and make it feel like an actual festival. And like we had just never done that stuff before, so like having our friends and just brothers of like people that were willing to really be there for us during this like insanely difficult time.
And the fans, like, dude, we brought in like 20 or 15 or 20 like, you know, early supporters of the band, and we contacted them. We're like, will you guys, you know, help us, you know, with this festival? And they all were there super early, and we were like, all right, I don't even know what to tell you guys to do. And they just like worked the whole day, and they helped us out the whole night, and, you know, helped other people come into the show by telling them where certain things are, where the family and friends area was, and making sure like our families were taken care of. And it was really cool.
They're such an important part of it, man.
I mean, they're the most important
Isn't
part,
it?
Yeah.
Isn't it so cool though? Because it's cool we're talking about this, because so many times bands get looked at like, we threw this festival, we did this. Like, you guys just played the show, and like, yeah, you're putting the show on, but like, dude, you're not doing all of this. There's so many people involved that are working their asses off to make this shit possible, and that was such a cool part of camp. Yeah,
man, it's great. I mean, dude, we're so like that private Facebook group of ours is fucking crazy.
It's awesome.
It's like probably the smallest group of any of our social medias. It's only, I don't know how many people are on there, but you know, in the hundreds. It's not like thousands of people. And they probably account for like 75% of all of our merch orders. They do everything for us. They're at every single show. They're flying across the country every time. They're buying each other merch. If somebody's like, hey, I don't have like, I'm financially, I can't like buy anything this month, and I really want this thing, like they're supporting each other. I saw people hooking each other up with like flights to Camp Fest, and it's just like they're like an actual community where they're buying flights, they're helping people with like places to stay, they're doing things for each other. And it's like, it's dope that we are a small part of being able to like bring that community together. And like they're so diehard, and they like love us, and they support us like every single day. They're messaging us and talking to us, and you know, and we see them, and we like, it's everything for us, because I know at any moment I could reach out to one of them and be like, you know, if I ever needed anything, like we have this like
can I sleep on your couch?
Can I sleep on your couch? No, but for real, it's like, if there's ever like, these people like really, really fucking care, and they will do anything to like help us, and we want to do the same thing for them and like show them how much we appreciate them. And it's like a lot of these people too are like, in our early days in the band, we stayed on their couch or something, or like we couldn't afford to get a hotel, or like even afford to take all of us out to dinner or something. Like they would let us all sleep at their house, and they'd take us all to dinner, or they would cook us a meal or something. And it was like those early days, like now, you know, 14 years later, 12 years later, I'm still texting him like, hey, just so you know, merch drop tomorrow. Don't tell anybody. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like they've been there since the very beginning, and like they deserve.
Yo,
like,
that's kind of a crazy concept too. It's like they were there for us when we were at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then, 15 years later, we're at the bottom again, right after Andy died, and they still showed up for us.
Yeah, they've always been there.
That shit's crazy.
And
like when I saw, bro, this is like gonna make me cry, bro. When I saw Acid Dad at CampFest and he walked backstage, I saw him walk into the green room and I just was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, the coolest part about it was he didn't text us or call us that he was showing up. He just fucking showed up and somehow made it backstage, and he walked in, dude. And I gave him the biggest hug and I just started crying, bro. It was so sick. I was like, dude, you're the shit. Like, but we had so many fans like that just pulled up for us and physically just showed up for us, dude. And it was like, damn, we have a huge family. We've got a really big family.
That's one of the craziest things about CampFest was that, like, usually when you play a show, you're looking in the crowd and you like recognize people, because like you've been there so many times. And at CampFest, it was like, oh, that's like, I know that guy from Colorado. I know that guy from Florida.
Chicago.
She's from Chicago. And you're like, you're just looking around and you're like, whoa, this is wild. Because like everybody was there. And it's like, I don't know. It was cool.
I know, man. It was like bringing all the tours we ever did together for one really special show. And like, I noticed a bunch of fans, hanging out and getting to meet each other for the first time that maybe knew each other through, the Facebook group and or like Instagram and stuff. But it was so cool. And like circling back to, a metric of success, it's like that show to me, that's what success is.
For sure.
And, in the sense of truly bringing people together in this really impactful way where everyone's like singing, dancing, crying together. That is some elevated spiritual shit that I'll never forget.
No, yeah. Me either. I can't wait till
so
like, cause
cool,
it's
man.
just like the process of even like trying to compile, 6 cameras angles of over an hour and a half plus the show beforehand, plus like behind the scenes stuff.
Dude.
And then the audio, it's like, it's going to take forever to do, but it's like, I can't wait for one day for that to actually happen, because it's like, it's going to be fucking cool to just be able to go back and relive that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because even just talking about it with you and like, it like makes me excited.
Dude, it makes me happy thinking about that show. But one thing that was really rad, dude, I remember it was the rehearsal before the day we played CampFest, and I was driving back to the studio with Sam Scarce, our videographer, and he was in charge of all of the video cameras that were being shipped in for the video team of other shooters that he was going to have working for the fest. And he was tripping. Like, we were driving there on the way to the studio, and he's like, dude, we're supposed to get this shipment today, and like, I'm kind of freaking out. But he looked at me, he's like, Stravs, I've realized that like when shit gets pushed to the last minute like this and the stakes are really high, it's usually when everything comes together last minute and God has your back. And I just looked at him and I was like, dude, I believe you, but I really hope you're right. And then like everything panned out, like you were talking about earlier, like everything just clicked into place, play the show, amazing show. And after the show, I just looked at Sam and I was like, I went up to him and hugged him. I was like, you're right, dude. Everything, you're right. Like everything clicked into place, and he just kind of had this.
Dude, that was stressful with the cameras though, because he kept texting me. He's like, where's it at? And I'm like, dude, it's not here yet. And he's looking, and he had to pick it up like the day of hours before the show, I believe.
Bro, Tim Kirch was editing video literally an hour before we went on stage, like finishing some of the video edits that were on the screen for our live performance. So like,
and then the dirty heads,
so
the Dirty Heads video guy happened to be there, and he's like, I'll run it for you guys. And we're like, thank you so much, because we were supposed to like run it out of your computer and stuff, but we need somebody else to like do it, and it was scary, and like we were so last minute on it, and he's like, I got it, and we're like, thank you so much, and it went like perfectly.
See, that's the thing too, bro. Like, I was so stressed on. I was spending like 12-hour days at the studio editing video content for this show, because we were syncing it to the live click and the tracks and stuff. And I was just so worried that something wasn't going to go right, because I truly had this vision of how beautiful it was going to be and how like certain elements were going to make people cry and laugh. And like, I remember being so scared, like, dude, if this video thing doesn't work out, I'm going to be so just so bummed because this is gonna be a big part of the show. Like this is gonna be such a massive part. And once like everything finally did work out, it was so sick because I could even tell us on stage, like us being able to experience all the video that Sam edited and like just it was crazy. Like all that video Sam did, like some of that shit we didn't even see until we played.
Oh,
so
yeah,
like we're on stage.
Like, we never practiced with any of the video.
We're on stage and like I turn around and you know there's candles and like bro, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was really I forgot that we hadn't seen it. I forgot that like it was just like there was so many elements of it that were like, and I was just like waiting. I was like, when's this shit gonna just crash and turn off? And like, you know what I mean? Because like that happens to us all the time, and it's like that's normal in shows. Like you just things happen, especially when it's like all crazy. But then like the video went off perfectly, and I remember sitting with you going over the set list and like really meticulously being like, this song needs to be after this song. Like make sure it's not just heavy the whole time, and like let it run in waves where it was a roller coaster. Really good, and then it's kind of like a little more in the sentimental, like sad side. But
do you know what it was like? It was like watching the movie Click.
It was like
it was an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot like Click.
It really was, dude. I remember, you know, Andy's closest friends. I remember Chad and Anthony and like Rohan and Derek all hitting me up like the day after the show, or like, you know, the couple days after the show, and just being like, yo, Stravs, that was the most insane catastrophe show I've ever been to. Like Chad, I remember Chad specifically telling me like, bro, I was not prepared for that. Like I was not prepared to cry that much, bro. Like I was laughing, I was singing, and then next thing I'm crying, and then the whole cycle's over again. And like you guys did that to us like 8 times in a row. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy.
Sunboner, he's like, me and him just talk shit like brutally to each other all day, every day. We've never said a nice thing to each other, I don't think, ever. And it's like, and that's just how we like always joke around. And it's like, no matter like what is gonna hurt this person the most is what we do. And after the show, I was like waiting for him to be like, well, that was fucking boring, or like that sucked, or you know what I mean? Like just I was waiting for it, and I was like laughing and like ready for what he said. And he's like, that was the best show I've ever seen in my entire life. He's like, I've never been to a better show. Dude. And I was like, oh, I was waiting for the kicker, and he's like, no, he's like, it was incredible. And everybody coming up to me and being like, that was the best concert I ever saw. Like that was the best thing I've ever been to. And I'm like, me too.
I'm not biased. I know I'm not biased just because I was on stage. Like that was the best concert I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's hard to like crazy. Because we're so ingrained in everything, and it's so personal to us, everything. So it's hard to tell, is this really crazy because it's just that's my entire life and that's all I've known, or are other people going to like attach to this the same way I feel?
Yeah.
And like it was just like this unanimous crazy experience where people were messaging me that had never even heard of us, and their like girlfriend dragged him in, and and they're just like, dude, I never heard you guys, I never met Andy, I don't know anything about you guys at all. And that was like one of the craziest shows I've ever been to, and I was just like, fuck, like it worked, like everything happened right, and we did a fucking good job ourselves, and our team crushed it, and all the guests came out and they crushed it. I was nervous about the guests too, because we had like a few hours of rehearsal. Yeah, we had a few hours of rehearsal, and we had never tried to run like, you know, we had Christian Brandmeier, who used to be Dirty Heads TM and manager for a while, and then now he works with Silverback, but he was like in charge of getting everybody out. But it's hard because we do one song, then he has to have the next person ready, and then when that person's done, he has to send that person out, find the next person, get everybody in this like line where like everybody's already standing by the stage watching the entire show. But it's like, I was like, dude, this is going to be a mess because we have like 12, 13 people all that need to be up at the right times. If somebody runs to the bathroom at the wrong time, not knowing what song's next, like it could like really throw a wrench in the entire show.
Yeah, I remember us having a lot of conversations about all the variables of things that could go wrong. Isn't that what's funny though? It's like out of all the variables, like your list of variables of how things can go wrong are usually so much longer than like, all right, how good can this be? You know what I mean?
Well, and so like, it's like the things that usually go wrong never really make the list of things. Like it, like you'll have an equal amount of things go wrong, but it's never the stuff you're thinking of. It's like things that you can never possibly prepare yourself for. And obviously you have to prepare for the worst, because if you don't, then you're just stuck sitting there like, what do we do? But yeah, dude, there was a deep list on that show of just like it could rain.
Yeah.
Even if it just rained,
That
and
would've
it
been
was
so
raining
hype.
like days before. It was like, okay, it's cold out. It was like freezing, and everybody would be wet, and it's outdoors, and
yeah.
there's all this.
I will forever love Duddy for this so much, but I can't remember if you were at the bar. Did you go to what's the ramen place? Tempe?
Yeah, I went after the show.
Yeah. Me, you, and Mouse were hanging out with Duddy, and I can't remember if you were standing there, but I know me and Mouse were talking to him because Mouse and him were talking about fishing. And Duddy goes, yeah, man, so after the show, like this is right after CanFest, and he's like, bro, he's like, Stravs, I went to my hotel, I took my pants off, I got in bed, put the covers on, I was laying down, I got on Instagram, and I saw all you guys hanging out here, and I was like, you know what, fuck this. And he's like, I got out of bed, I put my pants on, and I said, I'm fucking going to hang out with them. There's no way I'm just gonna like sit in this hotel room. Like, I need to go party with these guys.
Yeah.
And so he showed up, and like him just telling me that, it was just so rad because it's like, you know, he's Duddy from Dirty Heads. Like he doesn't have to.
Well, and Jared too, and like Jared's sober, and so it's like I know for him going to like a bar afterwards is probably not his like ideal place to hang out. You know, after a really stressful and emotional day, I couldn't imagine like being like, oh, I'm gonna go somewhere where I'm not going to really enjoy it as much. But just everybody was there, and like, dude, Duddy has been so amazing to us since everything that happened, and you know, constantly. We had toured with them before, but it's not like I had never had like a ton of conversation with Duddy. You know what I mean? He's generally kind of seems like the more laid back, kind of keeps to himself, and he's there, and he's been like super active in making sure that we're okay and we're good. And, you know, it's, I don't know, we're so lucky to have, I don't know, this whole podcast every single week. We can just talk about how lucky we are because of how many people support us and love us, but it's true. And it's really, really crazy. And I cannot wait for people to see what all of that support and everything that they've been putting into us is going to turn into, because I think we're going to make everyone proud, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, all the people that listen to our music have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. We do too. And it's hard to remember that sometimes, but we do.
I know it is, but even talking about it like makes me remember again. And, you know, the Washed merch drop last week was just such a big reminder of like, you know, how many people are still so excited and still have so much love for the band, and that, you know, the band's not dead just because Andy's gone.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I don't know, it's cool, man.
Yeah, we
still
got some shit to say, and
we love you guys, man.
Yeah, this is more like a fan, you know, thank you episode, and I really like that because
me too.
They deserve it. They've been, you know, keeping us alive for so many years before all this happened, and they're still all very vocal and very supportive and very strong and friendly to each other, which is like the most important to me, because I see other artists, like, you know, groups like private fan groups, and people can be like really awful to each other and, you know, really gatekeepy, and these people are very welcoming, and I don't know. Yeah, we just want to say thank you to all of our fans, you know, not just the ones in the private group, but, you know, everybody that's been supporting us, and especially this podcast and keeping this podcast going, and people messaging us every week. And it's been, we have a lot to look forward to, and I'm excited.
I got a couple really rad messages and saw a couple cool comments from people that are currently listening to the podcast and just expressing how one girl's comment, she said something about how she said, you know, I appreciate how vulnerable you guys have been on the podcast, and I can't tell you know how much it means to me and how it's helped me with certain things. And I saw a couple messages and like comments like that, and I thought that was so cool, because when we're doing this, I'm not even really thinking about that. Like, sometimes a lot of times when we're talking and we're getting deep, I kind of forget we're podcasting, and it more so turns into a legitimate therapy session for myself to like maybe even just kind of work through some of the things I'm going through and get a better understanding of like what's actually going on. There's something about telling things to you that help me work it out. And so I just feel better doing it. And so the fact that other people can maybe grab something from it, and maybe one comment I saw was someone saying it makes me feel less alone and less crazy that you guys deal with the same kind of stuff that we deal with,
Yeah.
or that I deal with. And it's like, man, that's so cool because, you know, like the outside perception of being in a band and all those things we do, and like the cool photographers always taking photos of us, and it's just, we're just normal ass dudes with normal problems too, you know? And
yeah.
it's a cool, weird thing that like it can serve multiple purposes at once.
Yeah, for sure. It's been, I saw those messages too, and they're just talking about a lot of like, you know, for men to just openly talk about like their mental health and like emotional problems. It's like, and then also people saying, you know, I love the deep conversation as much as I love the bullshit you guys talking about, you know, random things. But like, that's just like what we've always done. And we knew that, you know, doing this, I think people will really get a good view on like what it's actually like to live that life of like chasing, not just like being in a band, but just like chasing a dream, and then like things not always going your way, and like figuring out your life. And you know, it is crazy, and we've been in like some rough spots in our lives here, obviously, and it does feel good to kind of be public about it still, and not just pretend like everything's great all the time and we're okay. And like, because like we are excited and there's all this stuff, and then there's other times where I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? You know,
yeah,
and I
dude.
say that all the time, but it's just, I always have these moments where I'm like second guess myself and second guess everything. And it's just good to be here with you every week and be able to just talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah, dude, it's been super helpful for me. And you know, that's why like sometimes on the podcast I've gotten like emotional and shit, because I feel like after Andy died, there's just, I think, certain parts of my heart that are just like opening up and like really feeling things on such a high level. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I just like, why should like everyone cries and goes through shit, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like super normal. It should be more normal to like do that with people you're close with and sit and talk and like cry about shit if you are really going through it, because bottling it up has seriously negative consequences in your life and the people around you.
As you can see with me.
I'm not pointing fingers.
I didn't think that. I was just joking.
Yeah. Okay. No.
No, but yeah, I mean, it's true. It's just like being real. And like you said, when we are on this podcast and it's free form conversation.
It feels
like what
safe.
We would normally do. So and it is safe.
I feel safe to do that, you know, and like, to me, it feels similar to at the studio, you know, like our studio where we've finished not finished it yet, but have been continuing to work on our final album. It's like, bro, I've spent so many nights in there, like after everyone leaves and just laying down in the tracking room and just like letting it all out.
Yeah.
And it's been so nice to just have a place to do that. And, you know, like, yeah, it's, you know, a lot of people aren't given that space to feel that. And so, you know, like, fuck, man, if you need to cry, like, go cry. Go sit on a mountain, go on a hike, go sit on a mountain and cry. Like, for real, if you like live with people where you're like afraid to cry in front of them, then you need to go somewhere and cry, because crying feels really good. And I think crying about shit that you've been through is the only way to really let it out, man. Like, shit, life is crazy.
Yeah, it's been extra crazy for
and
us.
This is Camp Cry, dude. We cry at camp.
Yeah, you can if you want.
I didn't cry during this episode, so you'll have to dig through previous episodes if you want
just
nice footage of ugly crying. I'm
not a
me.
big crier,
but you know,
it doesn't come naturally for me.
Yeah. Well,
I think we should probably end this one here and just keep
before someone starts crying. Are you afraid? Are you afraid I'm gonna start crying?
I've never cried, but you might. Yeah, no. I think we actually have to get going pretty soon here. We're kind of running out.
Oh, we're over an hour.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next week.
Peace out.
We love you.